You are listening to the Gentle Wave podcast, a place to remember your own true essence in wild reclamation. My name is Ina Jane, and I'm holding the space for you today. Words to nourish your soul, inspire your mind, and anchor your body in the remembrance that you hold all that you need inside of you. You are already whole. So let's own what we know, let's inspire each other, and let's write new pathways together. Thresholds carry all kinds of weathers. It is hard to have a forecast for a threshold. You never know what is coming. The unknown is so woven into hanging out in that space in between. And every time it is different what it takes to pluck up the courage to sit here in this liminal space, making up your mind whether or not to take the next step. If you do, and even if you don't, there is a whole new journey ahead, finding yourself on the other side of that choice, knowing there is no going back, but not being able to see yet where the path will lead. Once on the threshold, choice is inevitable, and even standing still is going to lead to change. It is the night of Beltane. Veils between worlds are at their thinnest, when the balance of light and dark opens into a magic too wild to hold human concepts of linearity. It feels to me like a day out of time, when we become visible in ways that feel both eye-opening and so vulnerable. Identity melts into the world around us, and separation loses all meaning. Questions seem to exist only woven into a tapestry of answers. Understanding is available in a way that otherwise can feel like such a journey. It is past midnight. I sit in the darkness, the pages of my notebook illuminated by the flame of a candle and the dimmed screen of an image open on my computer. It seems that this night asks me to close my eyes wide open and to stand vigil on this threshold of time, in no time. I let my body glide into the twilight, a shadow in the gentle dance of fading oranges and lightened blues. In the silence of a lake, light made liquid by the midnight sun, the forest all around listening, my eyes follow the ripples extending from my body on the surface of the water. A drop suspended in the labyrinth of time, filled with hopes and dreams and longing. When the twilight of the midnight sun whispered promises of belonging, I take it from the shelves of swirling memories to immerse myself once again into the feeling waters. A moment suspended through the lens of a camera, an image waiting in well-stored folders on my computer for me to remember. It is hard to believe now that I had forgotten about that image until now. Never thought of that moment again for all these years. Sitting here in the dark, so many miles away from that lake, at a stone table, the gentle trickle of droplets descending from a clay bowl behind the glass walls of a water purifier whisper me back to that evening, into that lake, and I can feel those ripples expanding from my body, as well as the outer edges of the ripples reaching me right here, right now, as I'm sitting by the light of a candle. I see myself reflected on the surface of this drop of time. That moment back then now feels like a pause, like the short interval between inhale and exhale. It has me long for peace, a peace I was afraid of back then. I know I was. However much I welcomed that drop of time, that pause, the roaring storms lapped up against the inside of my skin, afraid to be caged. Believing that that peace would mean abandoning the wild within me. I have weathered so many storms inside and outside since then. If anyone would ask me today who I am, my answer most likely would be this: I am a storm with skin. And although fear is a constant companion, I am not afraid in that way anymore, that the shadow rising out of the lake under the midnight sun was. I feel rich in the nourishment of the diversity of soils and waters, plants and winds, stones and flowers, the warmth of what felt like an eternal summer, that now is deeply carried in the marrow of my bones, the waves of oceans that I have immersed myself in. My whole life the ocean has been calling me. I have answered that call. I followed the beckoning waves in and in and in again, floating and tossing, being carried and drowned. The waves' rhythms on every breath, the tides ebbing and flowing in my blood, the storms and sparkly calm days written in the very marrow of my bones. I know she will never stop calling me, the sea, and I will never stop answering, from the very core of who I am. Sailing on the spiral path between that night and this, I've grown into my wildness, and my longing for peace is no longer something that stands in opposition to that wildness. We are water, and like the water we carry both a blueprint of who we are in essence, as well as are constantly infused by the information we absorb. What washes up on our shores trickles into our experiences, infuses our imagination. Like the water, we are both constantly changing, and we are constantly changed. Each moment rippling out, a stone falling into the lake of our story, writing and rewriting. While the fundamental melody of essence stays the same, to me this is the canvas on which we get to write our lives, and I know I will keep trusting the water. I also hear that among the rolling waves, the silence of the lake has been rippling through my being, and that the call of the sea is no longer the only one, not even the strongest anymore. Another longing has been growing between the currents. It is a scary thing to make our longing a spark that lights our way, a whisper that leads us to the heart of our inner compass, where we allow to grow into our true north, the knowing we can follow effortlessly. It's one of the wildest things I know. Allowing ourselves to connect to our wild essence and thereby show up connected in relationship and as part of the wild around us, contributing in reciprocity, showing up as a part of the whole in all ways. We are here to play a part, connected, not separate, allowing ourselves to be fully touched, to be fully immersed, to make choices within that, to listen, to show ourselves, to trust in the goodness within and without. That requires the wildest of courage, coming from all that we've learned about the world, humans, and ourselves along the way of our life. It has us grow into the understanding that we breed beginnings, one ending at a time. Every goodbye leaves a tang of grief within me, a flavour I am very used to by now, but that never loses its sharp edge when it is fresh. Saying my goodbye to earth places one sunrise and one starry night at a time, connections made that will never be unmade. Palms on tree skins, bare feet on soils, arms spread wide in waters and winds, different places, the same earth. I often felt I should care less, should attach myself less, because wandering isn't a movement made for putting your roots down. Yet I know no other way to live. I can't breathe, can't be, if I am not allowing myself to touch and be touched by where I am. To anchor myself in the moment that is only fully accessible within the sanctuary of the space I am inhabiting with my human form. I hoped for a long time that that might change, that I might learn. I did, just not what I thought I should. Instead of caring less, I feel every time I let go, I let something pass, I leave something behind, I grow in my capacity to care even more. It makes no sense, and yet it is the only thing that feels worth it. So although so much of me feels like it has broken apart, under the blanket of this night I find I have found pieces I didn't even know I needed. There is a wealth in solitude and earth abundance, a connection I found that goes beyond words. What I thought would harden me actually only softened me. For me, one of the most revolutionary things we can ever do is to soften. From there, deep in our body, we remember who we truly are and what we are capable of. The pain comes because it is a precarious dance on the surface of this world to deeply care, to dare to be that open and to keep softening into the moment wherever we are, not only remembering why we are here, but even in the smallest of ways unpack our gift and live it in the best possible way from moment to moment, not knowing where it will lead us. I close the notebook and blow out the candle. The gentle light of dawn is creeping in through the windows, and when I step over the threshold of my front door into the breaking day, I am immediately immersed into the soundscape of birdsong carried on the morning air. And while I walk down the street towards the ocean, I can feel all these different pieces collected since that night under the midnight sun fall into place. And for a moment it all makes sense in a way that knows no rational explanation. And what felt like a blundering in the dark suddenly feels like a story written in invisible ink, revealed by the ripples of a lake extending into this moment. Memory of a future, however unformed to my rational mind, has been growing alongside the gardens and paths, the walks by the ocean. It reminds me what it truly is to embody a vision, that it isn't always clear chiseled images, goals and destinations, but something that slowly builds from an inkling, a faint knowing, a feeling that becomes less and less possible to shake or ignore. If we allow that to trickle into everything we do, it grows and strengthens until that indistinct knowing, that first appearance, that glimmer on the horizon of our imagination, becomes a felt truth. And then the vision's clear, and we are ready to take the step over the threshold. My feet barely immersed in the licking waves, my eyes follow the pelicans, soaring over the breathing waves in the awakening day. Still cool, you can sense the day's heat already building under the lifted blanket of the night, and a breeze ruffles the curtains thinned by the night of Beltane. And I see swallows diving into meadows rich with the wild joy of May. I can feel the energy of spring flowing through my veins with the mix of excited anticipation and bone-deep tiredness. Although here, bare feet in the sand, the hot season is in full swing, and there is nothing that calls for those memories to rise. I find my body knows its roots, and my energy already moves within coordinates that I don't understand yet. Everything has its time. We can trust in the perfect unfolding of it all, even if we can't see it yet. That is what Beltane is about for me. It reminds me of the essential wisdom of spring. And however frustrating that is to my rational mind that demands forecasts to ease the fear and impatience fueled by doubt, standing here, I know, on this morning, feet on the edge of the sea, that I find myself on the other side of a threshold. And I know that every step I take from here is writing my story onto the pages of a new chapter. We begin where we are. Every moment is a portal, a bridge between inner and outer worlds. We are the oracle. A part of us always knows, and if we find ways to access that part, to step into conversation with it, then we will, through presence, come into the embodied understanding that in fact the answers to all the questions we could possibly ask are within us. We make our imagination a hearth we can come home to again and again on our journey through our inner universes and outer experiences. We make our longing a spark that lights our way, a whisper that leads us to the heart of our inner compass, weaving soul circles into this human experience with every step we take. Swirling circles in the pool of time we weave with our lives, surprised by every dawn, awakened with every sunset, born again with every breath. Rippling currents we drift through the ether of what once was unformed. We die and are born in a rhythm that eludes the senses, that we dare to acknowledge. We are not the same to who we were. It's not a tragedy. It's also not a mystery. It is the song of our lives woven into the very fabric of this earth. Traveling through galaxies of unforgotten routes, we live, we breathe, we change. And it is not a tragedy, it is a gift. Swirling circles in the pool of time, we ripple out, surprised by the recurring kiss of rising suns and setting moons. We write beginnings one ending at a time, writing ourselves with invisible ink of longing into the unknown. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Gentle Wave podcast. I hope it lands in between the pages of your life as nourishment and inspiration. We are here to be wild. We need you. We need your perspective. We need you making sense in and of this world in your very own way. That, to me, is the true revolution, right here in the heart of ourselves, a powerful wave rooted in the softening of our very relationship with ourselves, weaving soul circles into our bodies. Thank you for your presence on this wild human ride. Until next time, I wish you a journey of playful curiosity and wild ease.